Hey, it's Charlotte. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're watching this. Thanks for giving it a little watch. Going to talk today about how tired I am. Today I woke up at 5 o'clock this evening, which it's just gone 8 o'clock now. So I've been awake 2 hours. I'm still feeling quite tired, and my brain isn't quite engaging properly. So yeah, I'm feeling a little bit weird at the moment, and that's it's possibly down to changes in my diet. So I've moved away from eating a lot of junk and a lot of protein that comes from animal based proteins. So starting to remove a lot of animal proteins and move towards living a more vegetable based diet. Aiming towards the vegan sort of spectrum. I cut out dairy and eggs quite some time ago on the advice of doctors. Um, wasn't really a big fan of eggs anyway, and there's alternatives to milk these days that are great. Like I am the biggest fan of oat milk. I'm not sponsored, so don't don't put me that down for that. But yeah, I enjoy having milk on my cereal, and it's not that I'm against sort of um, against these things. It's about sustainability and how that sustainability works, and it's not about the short term sustainability for me. It's about long term sustainability. So if I can get something now that I would be able to get in 100 years time, regardless of the climate around me, then I'm gonna try and aim for that. And if I can change to a more plant based diet, then that actually garners a more successful relationship with sustainability. And my sort of ethos behind that and the way that I align with that in terms of most things is that I buy from only sustainable companies, or I um, look to where I'm purchasing my items from, and try to ensure that those are going to be sustainably brought to me. Um, One aspect of my life that I really do want to look more deeply into, creating a more sustainable approach to, is the clothing that I wear on a day to day, and see where I can maybe move to a more cotton based um, set of clothing ranges and things like that, because the plastics in our clothes do sort of degrade and break down, and they get washed away every time you wash. And at this moment in time, there's no way of us actually removing those plastics from our wastewater, and it's quite a difficult task. So until that sort of develops a bit more, and I don't think that it will develop any more than it has, because we do have techniques to remove that sort of thing, but they're very expensive to run. Um, reverse osmosis and distillation would be the only two techniques that you could essentially remove such from water. Um, but it's one of those interesting subjects right now where quite a lot of people are getting more aware of the sustainability of the products that they're using, and they don't quite realize now. I made a big shift recently to start empowering myself to become the help that some people might want to understanding sustainability. And I work with a company now and partnered with a company that sustainably sources all of the ingredients, never tests on animals. They ensure that their delivery method is carbon neutral as it can be. Uh, including using carbon offset delivery services and things like that. So you get number one, a better quality of product because of that ethos, but also you get a peace of mind knowing that you're doing as much as you can to try and help sustainability. I don't want to make this all about the products that I use, but they are a big part of my life now. And today I've woke up very tired and feeling very lethargic, but I've slugged back a litre of water, mixed in a couple of fizz sticks with those, which is one of the products that I sell. I personally find them amazing because they pick me up and make me a bit more aware and alert, even on my bad days where I'm not really with it. Yeah, so very interested in sort of sustainability right now and how that is affecting the planet and how that is affecting the environment around us. And even just the at-home environment is quite interesting to see how using sustainable products changes your home environment. I feel much happier in my home because I know the products that I'm using come from happy places, essentially. They're made in a much more much nicer way, and yeah, everything down to the packaging that I use is recyclable now. In like 90% of my bathroom products, there's that 10% of things that I use at the moment that aren't quite recyclable, and that I'm working towards removing those from my bathroom. And by that, I'm talking about like my razors and things like that. So there's things that you can't really recycle very well, or you can't replace them with an alternative quite just yet. I know some people out there are going to say ILP and laser and that, this, that and the other. I get laser on my face every 2 months at the moment. So I was having it every month. But after, I'm on my 10th session next time I go. So it's very effective. After 10 sessions, I practically have no real regrowth. I have quite a bit on my upper lip, but like that is the worst area for most people. Even cisgendered women have sometimes issues with their upper hair lip growth. And if you do, like, I recommend you go check out your local your local laser clinic and have a consultation with them and speak to them about the options if you feel like that's a really sort of dysmorphic thing for you. So by dysmorphia, I mean it's something you hate about your body. So everyone has a body dysmorphia of some level. Like there's always that one thing that you want to change or change via plastic surgery. Now, the next level up from that, obviously being body dysmorphic, which I believe everyone has a certain level of, you can get into the obsessive sort of side of that, where people are a bit more obsessive about how their body looks, and they become anorexic or bulimic. You've got people who overeat and things like that. So there's an interesting spectrum right there, and it's about the obsessive side of it that becomes when you start to worry about somebody. And I'm gender dysmorphic, so I don't like certain aspects of my body. I'm getting more comfortable with that every day, but I'm still not comfortable with my own body, and I'm not sure when I might achieve a level where I'm 100% comfortable, because I don't firmly 100% believe that would be possible with me, but right now I'm like 75% comfortable, and I reckon I could get all the way up to about 90% in terms of like a percentile. And 75% for me right now is pretty good. Um, and it's quite interesting to, because I was watching Suddenly Samantha on Instagram last night. You should follow her if you are an avid Instagram and you're interested in sort of gender. She's quite a good person to follow. She runs the Trans IRL channel, I believe. I think that's what it's called. But she kind of documents quite a lot of things, and there was a few questions asked about feelings of levels of comfort with one's own presence and body, and you get to a level where you can be comfortable. I firmly believe that, but the 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 dysphoria and the dysmorphia sort of don't disappear. You still have those levels, and you still have those moments where you think everyone around you is just not accepting you, or everyone around you is seeing straight through and thinking something else. And that's something that I'd spent a lot of time learning to let go of over the recent months, is how to let go of what other people think of you. And I almost learnt this quite a long time ago, but I hadn't spent enough time working out what makes that little chimp in my mind tick to say those things. And over these past few months, I've spent some time thinking about, like, what makes that chimp say that person thinks that. And I don't know what they actually think, because I've not asked them. And that's the funny thing, like, you can sit there and hypothesize about what other people think, and you can be completely wrong. And you can be almost 100% wrong about what somebody else over the other side of the room is thinking about you, just because they're staring. And it might actually be like you're just holding a fork in a really weird way. Like, nothing else other than, or, you've got really cool hair, like, or, they're thinking, oh my god, that girl looks so cute, or whatever. There's a lot of things that you sort of instantaneously throw out because you think in a certain way, and you it's almost like me saying, I walk 100 miles in somebody's shoes, and you're like, well, I have, but it's difficult to describe. And I hope I've kind of done it a little bit of justice in sort of trying to analogize it there. And yeah, interestingly, it's not something that I've sat and thought about fully for a little while. Having all of the problems I've had over Christmas, like, when I went onto that ward, it didn't click to me when I was being sent up to the ward, as to what ward I would be sent to. The only thing that I got stuck in the back of my head was that, I'll end up on a mixed ward. There'll be whoever in my ward room, and I'm not going to be bothered by it. But what actually happened was, because all of the markers on my medical paperwork just have a female marker, means that whenever I end up in hospital, I just end up automatically being put on a female ward, which is great for me, because it brings down that anxiety and sort of stress of trying to work out, like, oh, will I be with this type of person? Is this person going to be negative? Because in general, I found that females, or cisgendered females, are more accepting of trans women than you'd like to think. And even if there was a problem, I'm fairly certain that the hospital would have been able to sort that out, either moving me onto another room or whatever. But because most people don't know who I am, don't know what my background is, when I come in, my appearance is quite feminine. So, you know, there's no question of where I should fit in the world in that sort of sense. I know I don't wear makeup very often. I do and I don't. I just keep it for special occasions, and I like to give a true image, and that's why I don't wear makeup, and it's why I think that I've gotten over a lot of thinking of how people perceive me, is because I perceive myself as almost as clearly as possible. Um, I get away with a lot of things in person that I might not get away with indirectly. So, um, quite often when I'm on the phone to people, they misgender me. So, being misgendered is when somebody decides to call you sir instead of calling you madam, and that sort of thing. So, that happens to me probably once every 7 or 8 phone calls. Um, if if I know the person on the other end of the phone has my details and knows that my title is Miss, they then should be addressing me in with the feminine pronoun. I will warn them once. The second time I warn them, I will say that it, it it's not unreasonable for me to ask this, and if they have a problem, that they should pass me to their supervisor. If they go on for a third time, then usually that's when I ask to speak to their supervisor, and I will give feedback upon the advisor that I was speaking to prior to their supervisor, and I will make sure that it's clear that it wasn't an unreasonable request. It's like if I was to come up to you in the street and say, you know, you're the opposite gender, and just try and tell you who you are, and it becomes really frustrating, especially when you know that they have in front of them the paperwork to tell you that who you are and what gender pronouns to use. I've even had arguments with my bank trying to access my own bank account. Sorry, just a bit of reflux. Despite the fact that I know all of my details, I can tell them things that, like the security passwords and all that sort of thing, and they still refuse me access to my account, and that's the point where I start screaming down the phone, because literally, I am me, I am who I am. Which brings me on to a slightly cool thing. One of my friend's brother transitioned around about the time that I was hanging around with his sister. He's called Cairo. He's going to be part of a documentary on Channel 4. It airs on Monday. I'm not sure. It's like 9 o'clock or something. I'm quite interested and excited to watch the story that they filmed. I always remember sort of like seeing him come in and there'd be a camera following him, and they'd disappear off and go and record some footage. Never quite knew what was going on, but again, as far as I'm concerned, things that are outside of my life aren't really in my control, but I'm super excited to watch that this week. Anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry for the long video, a bit ranty. Didn't really know what to talk about today, but if you haven't, give it a like if you like the video. If you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell if you want to hear more from me. I'm going to try and post another video tomorrow.